Buffalo? Guess we'll first check. First, I guess we'll check in. John Gardner up in Buffalo.
I'm here.
Everybody's in Albany. I see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's those of us here who can't hear you.
Right. Anyway, welcome to the special December 6th meeting of the Finance Committee. We have one resolution to consider today. It's St. Joseph Hospital Yonkers Obligated Group. And Matt, who is also joined by Craig. Sorry, I can't get it. I'll let you pronounce the name.
Trifogo.
Okay, thank you. Will also be presenting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Morning, everyone. I wanted to introduce Craig Trivogel of our Portfolio Monitoring Department, who's also helped with the staff report. Hopefully, Craig and I will be able to answer any of your questions. The Finance Committee is being asked to approve to the full board, or recommend to the full board, staff report, which speaks to a 30-year bond issue in an amount not to exceed $27 million on behalf of St. Joseph's Hospital of Yonkers. As part of this financing, the institution is proposing to form an obligated group of one. The obligated group will be governed by a master trust indenture, or an MTI, and the institution's obligations to make payments related to the proposed Series 2017 bonds will be secured by an obligation issued pursuant to the MTI, which will be secured by a pledge of gross receipts and a mortgage on core hospital facilities. The purpose of this financing is to finance their capital restructuring financing program, or CRFP, matching commitment for the creation of an outpatient-related medical village. They will also look to refinance a current bank mortgage loan, refinance their Yonkers IDA Series 1998 bond issue, as well as refinance various capital leases. As this is a private placement, there'll be no ratings for this bond deal, and the proposed purchaser is Rosemore Management LLC on behalf of its investment funds. Regarding the institution, it is a New York-based not-for-profit located in Westchester County that has been providing healthcare services for nearly 130 years. The main 194-bed hospital campus provides both inpatient and outpatient services to the residents of the greater Yonkers area. In addition, there is a 138-bed St. Vincent Psychiatric Hospital of Westchester, which is located in Harrison, New York. And this was acquired in 2010 and offers a comprehensive range of mental health, addiction, and residential programs serving Westchester County and New York City, which makes the institution provide and have one of the largest behavioral health programs in New York State. The two campuses are approximately 15 miles apart, and the hospital serves a diverse population in an urban area of New York State with a large number of low-income patients. As such, the hospital serves a disproportionate percentage of the uninsured, Medicaid, and Medicare patients. In recognition of the hospital serving a vital need in its community and its negative operating results, the hospital has been receiving payments from the Value-Based Purchasing Quality Improvement Program while it seeks to improve the quality of those services and ultimately become financially self-sufficient. And in closing, I do want to make the point that the bond issue will be privately placed. The purchaser has done its credit analysis, and these bonds will not be publicly offered or sold in the secondary market unless they are sold to another quib. And Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to the Department of Health to see if they have any comments for the members.
Thank you, Matt. I'm Tracy Raleigh. I'm the director of the Center for Planning, Licensure, and Finance at the department, and we would like to make some comments on this credit. First off, as Matt said, and we can confirm, St. Joseph's is an essential safety net provider serving the southern Westchester Yonkers community. They are also a very large provider of behavioral health services in terms of mental health and substance abuse, and that's a vital service that the department looks to in serving the community. We demonstrated our support for this facility in two ways. Matt mentioned, but we can go into detail. One is the department and DASNY jointly awarded CRFP grant funding, which is capital grant funding, and this was the capital grants to match the district projects that were going on. So as you may know, we're in district year 3, and this grant is the capital necessary to help St. Joseph's expand, basically reconfigure its emergency department and outpatient services to be larger and more advanced, enhance throughput and efficiency, and focus the institution on its value-based payment goals, which is consistent with the goals of district. So the capital funding was in the amount of approximately $9 million, and that's an essential support for this institution. We are also providing operating assistance to St. Joseph's, essentially to meet its ongoing operating expenses as it transforms through the program which was referred to as the value-based, I always get this value-based purchasing quality improvement program. I'm sorry, it's early. And this is an important program which matches essential safety net providers to a Medicaid managed care plan, and they essentially work on quality metrics that ultimately result in contractual arrangements which pay based on performance and quality. So it helps to raise the quality of the institution, and we have been, and in the same way provides essential support. So we have been providing that operating assistance to St. Joseph's to the tune of around $8 million this fiscal year. We expect to continue that funding going forward. We've been working with St. Joseph's on a transformation plan, and that does include excuse me, a proposed affiliation with Montefiore Medical Center. So they have been working with Montefiore in planning for the region, and this transaction does help facilitate that further collaboration. So what this financing does for St. Joseph's from our perspective, it helps St. Joseph's to restructure. It allows the facility to preserve precious liquidity. So as Matt mentioned, while there is, we evaluated kind of holistically for its risks, and there is extensions of debt on the refinancing components. However, what it achieves is a level debt service over 30 years for the institution, which we believe better positions the institution for success, because in the short term it has some liquidity challenges. Its debt is maturing, and there is cash that would be depleted from its balance sheet. Parallel to this financing transaction is a strategic initiative that is part of St. Joseph's plan, which is to sell its nursing home. And that's a significant transaction for the hospital, and will net it significant liquidity, and also allow it to refinance some high interest rate debt that's also maturing soon. That is in the form of a accounts receivable financing, and some other debt. It also allows for repayment of health facility restructuring pool loans that the authority and the department have also extended to St. Joseph's to help it in its meeting its operating needs. So we believe this restructuring will better position St. Joseph's, while the gross additional interest expense is around $7 million over the 30 years of the bonds. We look at that as another tool, and in our evaluation, it's more favorable to have the restructure of the existing debt, which allows the cash flow benefits up front, compared to the added interest expense potentially to the Medicaid system of $7 million gross. On a net present value basis, when we look at debt service, existing debt service to proposed refinance debt service. From our perspective, it looks to be neutral over the life of the bonds. So with that, I would take questions or.
I had a few. For the avoidance of doubt, I am comfortable with this trend. You out? So my questions are more financial than they are anything else, and I just need to understand some sense of the balance board. The credit summary points out that the hospital has incurred operating losses in 4 of the last 5 years and reported a 32% unrestricted net asset deficit. It's in favor. The VIP quit.
Right.
And it is hard to say. And the CR obviously are counterbalancing. The hospital's survival now appears to depend, until this deal is done with, on those 2 areas of money, which are all budgetary. Isn't Tracy to think that money is not going to be available in the not too far off future?
Sure. So just to clarify, the capital awards they're in contract. So
Okay.
that's secured. The bid quick is and
Right.
it is so, we are in the midst of our abilities to develop what the need is the next fiscal year and submitted those.
Mr. Chairman, can we
Yes.
interrupt for a second? We're having trouble understanding audio in Albany. If we can check where the mic is or speak up a little bit, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
There appears to be no mic.
We're under the table.
What?
This sounds like an under the table deal anyhow, so it's up.
Because that thing isn't on.
Try speaking up.
Is this the mic?
No.
No.
Is this the? I think that would be.
It's a speakerphone, right?
Ceiling, yeah.
I think it's up there, right? Oh, the problem is there's one there and there's one there. And
There, and there's one.
You gotta
I'll just speak up. Okay.
Speak up.
Let me try again. Is this better? Is that better?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll back up. So I had clarified there are two assistance, 2 ways of assistance that we've provided to St. Joseph's. One is a capital award through the CRFP program, the Capital Refinancing Program, and that capital award is already secured and is in process of grant contract. So that's flowing. With respect to the VIP-QUIP dollars, Chairman is absolutely correct. The dollars that we have in this fiscal year, we believe that St. Joseph's is on track to meet its contract requirements and will be receiving the full benefit of the $7.8 million that's coming this fiscal year. As far as next fiscal year, those monies are subject to appropriation, but the department has already, we are in process. We've determined what the need is for St. Joseph's. Operating deficits for next year, as well as the rest of our safety net providers. We've programmed them into the Medicaid budget, if you will, and that's subject to negotiation. But we feel so we don't know the answer to that, but we feel based on prior experience, we feel that will continue.
Okay, my only other question is, the sale of the nursing home is going to result in an influx of cash, which is going to be used in ways that are detailed on page 2 in the right paragraph. And those monies, the use of those monies detailed here, 4 different things. One of them is to pay down certain hospitals. Well, I guess I have 2 questions. The sale is obviously going to artificially inflate the availability of dollars for working capital. Who's keeping an eye on that? Who knows that you're going to see a spike in cash flow that's a one-time spike, and therefore maybe appropriated money isn't as necessary because you've got a spike, but maybe I don't know how you treat with that.
It's a very good question. So my staff looks at cash flows for St. Joseph's probably monthly.
Okay.
So we monitor that, and we actually ask for a projection. As I was saying, we've already received the hospital's projection month by month for next fiscal year. So they have programmed this nursing home sale proceeds into that, and we do monitor that in terms of their volatility. We also monitor the flow of funds from the VIPA program because it is a 3-party contract and there can be glitches. So we're in frequent conversation with the facility in terms of cash.
That's it. Thank you. No more questions, Mr. Chairman, from me.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a couple of questions, but I could defer them to the board meeting. I'm not a member of the committee. But
Feel free, you could.
Okay.
Sure.
The sale of the hospital, is that
The nursing home.
of the nursing home? Excuse me. Has that? It hasn't closed yet, so it's still. What's? Is it going to close? I mean, is it on track? I mean, what's the?
Right. We very good question. So we have confirmed with the hospital that it is scheduled to close by year end.
And their view is based. I mean, it's a deal. I mean, based on. There's a signed purchase agreement, and it is heading towards closing.
So the department has to approve any nursing home sales. So that approval, maybe Charlie can help me with the date. That's occurred prior. So we have approved the sale transaction. So now it's just scheduled for closing, and we've touched base, with the facility, and it is on track for.
Yeah, there is a purchase agreement that's been executed. The transaction came before the Public Health and Health Planning Committee mid-year this year. All contingencies have been satisfied, and the scheduled closing is by the end of this calendar year.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, it's Beth. So I'm just looking, page 3, just a quick question. Obviously, the payer mix clearly reflects what the health department is communicating about the vulnerable population. I was curious if the strategic plan is going to be looking at, or what the general reaction is to the decrease in the occupancy rate that's been seen over the past 5 years, and how that's going to be. Is that part of the strategic plan?
Yeah, so that's another very good observation, and we call that in the department, we call it demand destruction, which is a term which is going on across the industry right now, with the incentives towards value-based payment. It flips the historical hospital model upside down. So whereas everybody previously is focused on inpatient occupancy, now you're getting, in a value-based world, the concept is you actually get paid more if you keep folks out of the hospital. So what's happening, what the demand destruction is that right now these facilities have one foot in the historical fee-for-service, where they get paid based on higher occupancy, and one foot towards the future in value-based payment contracting. So that's why across the board with our safety net facilities, they are experiencing significant revenue loss. Another observation, which is in the staff report, is that another phenomenon across safety net facilities, particularly with high governmental payers, is the conversion to observation visits. Without getting too technical, this is previously where you'd come into the emergency room and be admitted and ultimately be discharged and paid a significant inpatient DRG rate. You're now paid an observation rate, which is often, 20% or less of what that DRG payment is. But you're keeping the patient for, 24 plus hours in observation and theoretically incurring a lot of the same cost you would. So that's another phenomenon, and this is eventually in a value-based contract with upside savings, you're able to capture any savings that is generated by, serving the patient more efficiently. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it's very, very helpful, but two follow-up questions. So just curious, and as the system is transforming, would be interested in understanding more thoroughly, kind of with that model in place, you still have the bricks and mortar that exists. So just curious how that progresses. And then the relationship between then the average length of stay, is it just that the individuals who are now staying in the hospital are in a sicker situation, so the average length of stay is increasing even though the occupancy rate is decreasing, which is reflected on the table?
That's right. The average length of stay here, I think it's noted in the staff report accurately, is for the full house, which includes the behavioral health services. That's why it's particularly high. But you're right. The trend with value-based payment is that you may expect a higher length of stay.
And then just the bricks and mortar piece again, as you're looking to actually have at least what it sounds like when you were talking about the occupancy rate decreasing. So how does the occupancy rate decreasing align with the physical structure that's in place?
So part of, I'll answer that. I think that's a line of questioning that we're continuing to evaluate with St. Joseph's as it moves forward with its transformation plan and partnership with Montefiore. But the CRFP grant itself is designed to address that, because you're essentially, expanding your physical plant for outpatient or ambulatory services. So you're reprogramming the physical plant towards more outpatient-focused service lines. You're not eliminating the inpatient, and that's not intended here. I think the other answer is that the facility expects to develop in conjunction with Montefiore specific targeted service line growth, and that's something that we're working with the facility on.
Thank you.
If I have one more question. Clearly, it's an essential but a financially challenged institution. Are the financial challenges due to the population it serves, or management weaknesses, or historically, how has the institution gotten to where it is now?
That's another great question. I would say we don't have any knowledge of any management or governance weaknesses at this facility. This is more nature of the payer mix and the community that the facility serves, and the mix of services.
Mm-hmm.
This is John Johnson in Albany. Yes?
Yes.
You're nodding your head, no.
No, I was not.
I assume that this is a transaction that needs to be closed by the end of this tax year.
That's what we're positioning
Yeah.
ourselves for.
Okay. Has this whole transaction, how long has this been in the works? Did this come up because of the potential federal tax law changes, and it's a sort of an act of, we've got to get something done here? Or has this been going on for a while, so this is not the result of hurry-up action?
It's been going on for a while, however, the schedule is accelerated due to the 12/31 deadline.
The acceleration, does that provide, because of the acceleration, as the ultimate use of the funds, restricted in any way that might go on if something is discovered that hadn't been thought of? I mean, is there any flexibility after this, or is this plan in place forever?
I mean, this is the plan that's in place. As far as flexibility, I haven't heard them request any additional flexibility. I mean, these are the needs they've identified, and this is the plan of finance that's been identified.
And the general plan of moving in this direction with restructuring the balance sheet in this way has been under discussion between us and them for probably close to 2 years. It just, the timing was not necessary yet. They were waiting really on the nursing home sale closing and using those funds to restructure the rest of the balance sheet. They wanted to get that done first, but with the changes in the tax law that have been proposed, the schedule compressed.
Had to mash it all together.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Sandra Shepard in Albany. I freely admit that I didn't see this until last evening, so there may be that there are answers to my questions in here that you can, either Matt or Tracy or Charlie or someone else can point out to me. But I'm just trying to understand the transaction, which the plan may be in process for a long time, but it's new to us. I mean, we have a hospital that has a grant. They need to match the funds. They're borrowing money to match the funds, but they only need $9 million to match. So my questions center around what the value is of borrowing $23 million or whatever the number is. I mean, appears that one of them is to refinance some IVA bonds, but the refinancing it frees up a debt service reserve fund. It's a good thing. It frees up some very short-term money, but it extends the debt by a number of years, and in those out years saddles the hospital with some now new debt service for those years. It also refinances a bank loan, which the material here does not tell me whether there's savings associated with that refinancing or not. I assume it's not just being paid off, it's being refinanced, but there has to be some positive reason, which I didn't get from my reading of it, for doing that refinancing. And we're looking at a hospital with operating losses, with already a pretty sad debt picture. I feel very concerned about the risk that we're taking. Maybe it's the only thing that we can do is to take a chance to go with this turnaround plan and hope that it works out. Because if it doesn't work out the way that we hope it does, several years from now, they're going to have the debt service from this new debt, they're going to have the debt service from the extended debt, and maybe they're not going to have the revenue and the turnaround that we had hoped. And we're doing this in a climate which could hardly be more volatile, more uncertain. Not that healthcare isn't often uncertain, but particularly so now with a looming tax bill, which appears may pass in some form, will pass probably, and other changes to entitlement programs next year. So I feel with a very short time to study this, I feel very concerned about going forward with it. So that's a very wide open statement to say, please clear up some of my confusion.
Sandra, the mortgage has a current maturity of 2031, and from the numbers I've been given, that will now go out to 2040. What they're trying to do is take all their various pieces of debt, refinance them along with the new money piece, have aggregate level debt service, and create an MTI structure so that the collateral is all shared. They have, various mortgages, and they really feel that this is a way to clean things up, again, provide for level debt service, and give them a financial plan along with the nursing home sale that will give them viability in the future.
Well, I mean, I think that's a very good concept, but what I don't see here are any projections, not even for 2017, on what that might mean, and certainly not for those out years when they have new debt service. I don't see anything that tells me whether this is a financially viable for them to do it. Do we have anything on any kind of operating projections?
I do not.
Do they believe the private, who's gonna buy the bond? It's a private
Private
placement.
placement to Rosemar,
And on the,
which is obviously a quib.
just refresh my memory, Portia, on, they call it the warning, that this debt can be,
Disclosure.
find its way into the private marketplace, right? There's some place somewhere on.
Right, so this is a private placement to a quib, Rosemar. This will be issued in large denominations. The intention is that if this were to be transferred in any way, it would go to another quib. Again, the notion being that these types of bonds, St. Joseph's included, would not end up in retail investors' hands.
There's a procedure in place with the warning, that warning that we talk about, right?
Qualified institutional.
Yeah, in terms of.
So it can't slip through the cracks
Yes,
somehow.
yes, and in terms of this being a private placement only to quibs and the transfer restriction only to quibs.
Sandra, this is Tracy. I can also add to what Matt said. While the department doesn't have a discrete projection tied to this refinancing, just to echo what Larry has said, we have been talking to the institution about their challenges of their balance sheet for over 2 years, and we really took seriously what you just went through, which is a very good line of questioning in terms of, are the risks, here outweighing the benefits? And we asked ourselves, if we didn't do this transaction, what would happen? And what would happen is the nursing home sale would continue. We believe it's going to close. The facility would then have to take the remaining cash from that sale and use that as its matching fund for the grant. That would leave it with very little financial flexibility or working capital. The added layer is the state is subsidizing operations here, and we continue to expect to provide the facility a runway. But we look at this restructuring as an additional tool. So we have the VIPQUIP program, and then this is an additional tool to help position the facility for success. Without it, it is at risk of not meeting its upcoming debt service payments.
How much are the sales proceeds? What's the amount?
I believe it's 18.4 million.
Yeah, sale proceeds are 28.4, but it's structured such that, let me pull it out. So the nursing home sale is 28.4, but basically 18.4 million of that goes to repay nursing home obligations. Included in that 18.4 is $6 million that actually is going back to the hospital to pay the hospital back for loans that they gave to the nursing home. So the $9 million that's the 10 million, equity transfer. Yeah. So basically, nursing home sale proceeds 28.4. 18.4 goes to repay nursing home obligations. That leaves $10 million, right? That $10 million is being transferred to the hospital, in addition to $6 million that's getting paid back to the hospital. So there's $16 million that's coming to the hospital. The hospital's going to pay down a $7 million accounts receivable financing, high interest rate, and then they're going to pay off a $2 million restructuring pool loan. So that's $9 million to be spent out of the 16 total, leaving the balance as liquidity for them to, have a cushion to help with their operations in the future, and to otherwise pay off some vendors who have been stretched a little bit lately.
Thank you.
I guess. Any other comments or concerns? No, sure. Well, hearing none, obviously it's a challenging financing. I think Sandra has always identified the various issues. I think, though, that it's a private placement, and given the fact that the Department of Health, who we sort of rely upon for these type of finance, at least the committee does, recommends approval, I'm just going to look for motion to continue the dialogue and get it out of the committee and get it up to the full board. So can I please get a motion to recommend?
So moved.
Second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so that motion carries. Thank you. We'll continue the dialogue, I'm sure, in a few minutes. I think that concludes the agenda for the Finance Committee. So, I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, thank you. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Thank you. So that adjourns the Finance Committee meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.